8-yard line. It is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, November 5th, which means it is time for the Audible. And thankfully, I have Donnie Rightside on the show. As I am falling apart in NFL, Donnie Rightside coming off a 5-0 week, 5-0, baby, turning it around in style, and I should be relegated. Somebody should come through this door right now and take over the hosting spot. I can't get anything right, Donnie, and I'm falling apart. But it's okay, because one of us is soaring off of a 5-0 week. So people will still watch the show because of you, Donnie. Great job this week. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, Jimmy. Look, we're only a week away from putting back on that Warren Moon jersey, getting those good feelings up, because the good thing about it is you get 17 full weeks of NFL football. Some you win, some you lose. There's still a lot of time to make up. Let's not forget, Jimmy, the rest of the season. We got playoffs. We got NFC, AFC. We got the Super Bowl. There's so many games to get back on board, and I liked what you were looking at. I think your radar is on, and this week we make those corrections and we cash in here.
It's Donnie, thank you for saying that, man. I'm about to fall apart here. So this is my third year here, publicly capping each and every game, and the first 2 years I started slow, but like the Chargers, I picked up, and this year this record is horrifying. But let's put it up. Embarrassment aside, Rafa, let's pop up this record. Oh God, I don't want to see this, man. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. I went ahead and lost the first half Cowboys team total over 13.5 last night to add to my losers. But Donnie coming off 5-0, and thankfully, we have these great cappers in the chat. I'm going to be doing a lot of listening this week, Donnie. Shout out to Joe Rich Ramirez, first in the chat. Great hustle. There's Alex Ramirez in the house. Tom Marino says, I think there's value with the Niners -6. Green Bay -5. There's even a 4.5 on the board right now, Tomor, for Green Bay. And the Chargers at a pick 'em. I'm going to copy and paste, man. I'm just gonna listen, copy and paste. And listen, I need to somehow get out of this. Shout out to Todd Pick'em in the house. Gerald Jones, ready to go. Nut Flush Allen. Alex Ramirez. A lot of Alex Ramirez. I love that. Pink Eye Genie in the house. This guy not only caps, but spreads pink eye awareness. Viper NB, the big guy. Bubba, ready to get to work. Bogey 34. Perfect rotation. Jermone Sags. Viper NB says, don't cry, Jimmy. We all get violated. Gas Station Sushi says, I'm tailing Donnie till the playoffs. I think so. I think that's the move here. I think we just allow Donnie to break these down. Nutflush said, just glad I got my Ravens 25-1 to win the Super Bowl before what happened on Sunday night. And Jeff Billing says, don't give up, Jimmy. It will change for you, brother. Let's get this money, man. Oh, God. Thank God for you guys. Greg77, good day, Jimmy and Donnie. Already week 10, time flies. Let's pick nothing but winners this week. All right, let's get to work. And I've got the record out of the way. So let's start capping here. We're going to start with the Thursday nighter, Chargers, Raiders, Donnie, and a tricky one here. 62 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. Chargers always start slow, but they waited a long time this year, Donnie. So long that we didn't think it was going to happen. On paper, the Chargers are much better than the Raiders. Finally, Melvin Gordon steps up in a big way. Oakland has been more consistent than the Chargers, but this is our defense. They lost Vontaze Burfict. They lost Jonathan Abram. Cleveland Farrell has been underwhelming. I mean, steady, solid against the run, doesn't make mistakes, but he can't bully players in the NFL like he did in Clemson. 2 weeks ago, Donnie, we had a total of 51.5 in a Raiders game. Last week, we had a total of 50.5. It soared over, and you were on it. In this game here, I feel like it's just a little too high. The Chargers run the ball, and they control the clock, and I hit with the under in the Packers-Chargers game last week, one of my few winners. We've seen Oakland opening up at -1.5. Now the Chargers are 1-point favorites. How are you handling the Thursday nighter?
It's another tough one, because we talked last week about it, and if you bet the home team, you won, but it was one of those who was really tugging on me, because I thought the right play was actually the San Francisco 49ers, and technically they were, until a really nice play at the end of the game, the Andy Isabella, over 80 yards. Sometimes you can't cap those type of plays, but I still think I was right on the move if you were to make a move on the home team. Same thing this week. We're taking a look at the Oakland Raiders aren't as good an overall team as the Chargers. You say, wait a second, I've been watching last week, what a nice win by Oakland. They've been on the road a lot. Now they come home. They're going to have a back-to-back home games for the first time in a month and a half at this point. But the one thing I do like about the Chargers, Jimmy, is when you saw on Sunday, we talked all week long about one of those games where it's like, threes, 3.5s. Why isn't this line moving more towards the Green Bay Packers? The Chargers can't get out of their own way. They stole a game against the Bears. But when you really break it down, sometimes it's about where you're playing guys and when you're playing guys, because this team is now getting healthy. Joey, but we all know Bosa's a great defensive end, but sort of lost a little bit of luster when you take out Ingram out of that lineup. Now you have both your pass rushers back. I know the guy that you talked about at length, Jimmy, throughout the summer, and we're doing these summer breakdowns here on the Audible. Derwin James is going to come back soon. And when you look at the offense, even though their offensive line is a bit banged up, Russell Okung comes back, but now you have healthy wide receivers. You have all three running backs back there that can be interchangeable. Phillip Rivers is playing some better football. But I think you're right. The one look on this is when you take a look at the Raiders and you just look at some simple numbers, on defense, 26th in points, 27th in yards, 32nd against the pass. The one thing that you look at the Chargers when you're looking at a total, you say, you know what? This team is more likely to get a chunk play of 5 to 7 yards than 17 to 20 yards. I agree with you. Look on the under. As hard it is to do that with Oakland, this Charger defense is pretty good because you're not moving up in ground. Let's forget about the offense, actually, the Chargers here, Jimmy. Chargers on defense, points 8th in the NFL, yards 8th in the NFL, passing 5th, and rush 20th. So if you're going to hand off to Jacobs, who's a fantastic back for the Oakland Raiders, they're going to be able to slow down that passing game. And when you watch the Chargers, it seems like every time they snap the football, Jimmy, 1 or 2 seconds left on the play clock. I like your underlook here early in the week.
I like the underlook too. And if there wasn't a home team or no team mandate on Thursday nights, and I've been staying off of almost all Thursday night action, I would take the Chargers here. But look at this chat all over the Raiders, except for my guy Ski Prophet joining us. Great to see you, Ski. Not Flush on says, I don't trust the Chargers with Freddie Foreskins money. Bogey 34 is on Raiders first half team, total over 10.5. Says Easy Casher. Tormino says Chargers are a streaky team. They always lose and win many games in a row. Why? What? No, Not Flush on saying, no, Ski, don't do it. I mean, if I gave you a free $500 bet on a side here, who would it be?
If I'm just looking at teams, and let's just take my personal bias, which, it's always going against the Bible. The Chargers are overall the better football team because you know what's going to happen, Jimmy? When it comes down to trust, I like Oakland's offense. I really do. But if I need a stop on defense, if I need to pressure the quarterback or come up with a play, it's the Chargers that should be able to make that play. Now, also, when you try to preface some things, which you saw last week, the 49ers going to Arizona, not the longest trip in the world. You also talk about the same type of thing, Jimmy. Chargers going to Oakland. It's not the longest flight. You're not taking a cross-country 4-hour flight. So there is a little bit of travel difference. I can't bet it, but if it was free, I'm probably going to lean on the Chargers, go against my whole will here, Jimmy.
I agree with that. Jeff Billings says, Jimmy, I like the Chargers first half and Chargers full game. But what do you think about this idea from Joe Rich Ramirez? God, I love Joe Rich. Thank you for joining us, Joe. Joe Rich in the house says overreaction on the Chargers. And Dennis agreeing. Dennis Garcia saying, where is it? He was saying that they basically said straight up that they were partying in Oakland. They're partying in here. Dennis Garcia said Aaron Rodgers basically said that Green Bay was caught up in the LA nightlife. Green Bay was flat. The Chargers are not good. Raiders roll. I mean, what is there an overreaction here for us like in the Chargers? Is 1 week does not a season make?
I don't think there's an overreaction because, again, you're getting Pro Bowl caliber players back that are healthy, specifically Hunter Henry at tight end. If you look at just the skill positions right now on the Chargers, you got Keenan Allen at wide receiver. You got Williams on the opposite side. You got Hunter Henry in the slot. You got all three of your tailbacks back and Melvin Gordon playing well. The thing that we brought up last week, which I was wrong in the pick six contest, I thought this game would go over. But taking a look at team total came in fine for the Chargers. But, Jimmy, the defenses that they played, right? Because it's about who you play. They played Denver, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and Chicago. We said, you know what? You're going to get a little bit of breather here with the Packers, and they put up 26 points. You're even getting you're talking about the Packers, Jimmy, 13th, 14th in the NFL in total defense. Now you're getting one of the single worst defenses out there. It only gets easier. The Chargers should be in the high 20s in this football game.
Yeah, wow. What the hell am I going to do? The Chargers seem appealing to me. And AM Moneyline says, Joe, I agree. Can't back the Chargers. Bogey 34 says Packers lost, Chargers didn't win. I'm leaning toward the Chargers and the under. And, man, difficult to make a move. Do you expect that you'll be making a move on this game?
I don't expect to, but if, again, free play or something, a Thursday night football game, I actually like the under a little bit here. I would stay away. If this was a Sunday game, Jimmy, I got to tell you, man, I'd probably be on the Chargers. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Prince of the City rolling with us. Prince of the City in the airplane coming back from Vegas. All the low baggers hanging at the Orleans, and he can't see the video, just the chat. So I don't know how much help that's going to be for him, but great to see you. Thank you for trying, Prince of the City. Much love. Okay, let's move on to the first game on the docket Sunday. Chiefs, Titans, 59 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 9 miles per hour. We have seen, and that's the win, we have seen some moves here in the market. -4 is opening up at 5 times in Bet365, and a total of 48.5. Matt Moore is a serviceable quarterback, and if I'm the Chiefs, I let Mahomes rest another week. Frank Clark out with a neck injury. Okafor out. I wasn't entirely sure if how much Okafor played in that game. I need to go back. I don't know if you know, Donnie. The Titans play up and down to their level of competition, but here I think the Chiefs, I guess we got to wait for more information on Mahomes and what your expectation is, whether Mahomes will be in the lineup. Chiefs, Titans, take it away, Donnie Rightside.
Yeah, hard to say exactly what the line is going to be here, but I think Kansas City's starting to hit their stride here. We're seeing how good of a coaching staff that Kansas City has assembled, especially on the offensive side of the football with Andy Reid and how that offense is moving along with Matt Moore. You're talking about a top 5 defense last week that they ran into versus Minnesota and were able to get the job done at home. Now you're going to go on the road, so a little bit different of an environment. Tennessee is moving the football. They have the ability to pass 2 out of the past 3 weeks, over 300 yards. But I'm going to keep it just with the pedigree team here early in the week. Mahomes or no Mahomes, I'm probably leaning towards Kansas City in this one. If you do get Patrick Mahomes, you're probably going to see a little bit of spike in that line. So let's just say if it's 2.5 or 3, it might jump to 4.5. I think you actually would get more value with Matt Moore quarterback, and I think he would be fine and serviceable. I was really impressed, Jimmy, with Kansas City on the closing line that we did this past Sunday. Me and Bobano, we had some fun talking about this football game because that line sort of got away. 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5 by game time for Kansas City, with a lot of key players, including Frank Clark, out on their defense, and they were serviceable in that game. The talent level between Minnesota and Tennessee is pretty drastic. I might be leaning towards Kansas City here, regardless of who's a quarterback. And I got to tell you, Jimmy, I might like it even more because I get a better price if Matt Moore is the quarterback here.
Yeah, but would you take a bet expecting, what's your expectation here? Because if you take it at -4 and then you hear that Mahomes is in, would you prefer that situation or would you prefer to wait? If Mahomes is in, stay off. If Moore is in and it goes down to 3, take him then.
Exactly. I think I would actually be more prone to wait in this spot because in that last set, let's just say if the tea leaves that we're reading right now, Patrick Mahomes is going to play. We actually thought there was a chance he was going to play last week. So you would think that he's going to play, but now winning last week might give him another little bit of a buffer to say, let's be real critical and safe here. But that 3-week mark is up this weekend. I'd be more inclined to wait because I think the line is trending towards Mahomes playing at this point, because if Matt Moore is going to go on the road, there's a good chance that he's not going to be favored by 3.5 or 4 points. I think that line would swing back to around a pick'em range. I would wait on this because if you get good news, or if, gambling good news for myself, is Matt Moore is playing, I think you get like a pick'em type situation here.
I agree with Tomar. Chiefs have no reason to rush Mahomes back, and I like that angle that you have with this game. Todd Pick'em says if bad boy Mahomes is back, then the Chiefs are the play. If not, then Chiefs are still the play. Let's move on to Bills-Browns right here. Bills-Browns. Opens a total of 41.5. Pinnacle at 40.5. Bookmaker, Bet365, Intertops, William Hill at 39.5. Browns open up at -2.5. 5 dimes, Bookmaker, and Heritage. You wager, Bet365 have moved it to 3. The other books are hanging 2.5s here. 46 Fahrenheit, chance of showers, 18 mile per hour winds. 2 offenses that struggle to put up points. Bills defense is so strong. They are in the hunt. They need this win badly. And I want to back them here, but again, I need to stop myself and say, is this another overreaction from what we just saw from the Cleveland Browns looking terrible, inept against Denver? The Browns are underachieving. Everyone's playing poorly except for Chubb and Garrett. Kitchens is terrible. Discipline problems, distractions. Who the hell cares what OBJ is wearing? Baker looks bad. He looks rattled. I want the Bills, but am I rushing to this?
God damn it, Jimmy. I look at this game, and these are the ones that really tug at me when I'm trying to cap games, because when you break it down to its common element, you look at the Buffalo Bills and you say, all right, well, what have they done, in a quick season snapshot? Lost to New England, lost to Philadelphia, upper echelon talented teams that technically were better on the field than the Buffalo Bills were. But when you look at a team not as good as the Bills record-wise or talent-wise, they beat the Tennessee Titans of the world, they beat the Miami Dolphins of the world, they beat the Washington Redskins of the world. Now they go on the road. But there are some added things coming in because and again, it hurts because I like to say, because Buffalo is going to come in. They're going to play hard. They're going to play for the coach. They're going to have good schemes. They're going to be ready to play. Whether or not they can execute the plays with Allen at quarterback, that's what the question is going to be. But from the Cleveland side, you always have the notion in the back of your head saying, you know what? Is this the week that Cleveland's going to get it right? Is this a week that even though we have bad weather, Kareem Hunt is coming back, Nick Chubb is coming back? So maybe we lean on the ground game. We don't make the mistakes this week, and we say Buffalo's offense is inept and they're not going to be able to move the football. We should win. Well, wasn't that the game plan we probably should have saw last week against the Denver Broncos? Rookie quarterbacks never taking a snap. Let's make them make the mistake when Cleveland just couldn't get out of their own way again. So if I'm putting my money, which I got to be honest with you, I'm trying to build a case to take the Cleveland Browns this weekend because I think this is actually a really good spot for them. Buffalo going on the road. They should be in the high teens, low 20s, which theoretically is going to give Cleveland a good chance to win this football game. But the same things that creep in last week, which is the reason I didn't take the Cleveland Browns, is I'm saying they're just not there. There's infighting. There's guys getting cut. There's questions about, you're right, who's wearing what cleats? Am I going to shave 4 times before the game starts? Or what am I going to look like in the post game? It's unbelievable the stuff you have to put up with without even just looking at the numbers with the Cleveland Browns. Early in the week, I'm trying to be contrarian. I'm trying to look at this and say, you know what, Cleveland's at home. This price is short. They're more talented. But I keep pulling myself back because I know what I'm actually going to get on the field. But is that worth making that risk and making that, actual bet on the game? Leaning Cleveland here early in the week, Jimmy.
Joe Rich Ramirez saying great breakdown. Donnie, so is this a Cleveland or no play for you at this point?
Yeah, that is exactly right. Because you're saying can Buffalo go on the road and win? Yes, they can do that. But Buffalo plays into the hand. Buffalo can run the football. We know that. Cleveland doesn't really stop the run all that well. We do know that. But outside of that, they should be able to go toe-to-toe. And again, let's not forget, this isn't a just scrap heap guy. Kareem Hunt is going to be active and healthy for this football game in bad weather. You're going to get Nick Chubb. He's going to get spelled by Kareem Hunt. That's got to be worth a little bit here in this game at least.
It's got to be the Kareem Hunt factor for sure. Bogey34 says, Jimmy, they may both put up low offensive numbers, but Buffalo has planned for it this year. Cleveland is imploding. Todd Pickham says, Bills D's like Superman, and Cleveland don't have any kryptonite. Go with the men of steel. Raphael says, Browns are terrible. Baker, OBJ not connecting. Bills, well-coached team. Jeff Billings says, pass on this game. I think it's a trap game. Tormento says, Browns' problem isn't running backs. It's the quarterback and offensive line. Donnie, this is a low total. It's being bet down. Would you still try to sneak under it?
Actually, it does depend. So we're talking about weather conditions. Let me just get a quick update on that again, what we're looking at here. 45 degrees, hot. Yeah, it screams. I mean, if you're going to get 20 miles an hour, it's not the mistake across the lake or whatever they call it up there in Cleveland for a reason. The wind will be an issue in that stadium. I mean, hell, there's actually wind turbines or windmills just outside the stadium because of how windy it is there. This is going to play to an under. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think so too. And my concern is Baker. Throwing pick sixes and the Browns giving up. The Browns giving up at home, getting booed like crazy and just letting things go. And that's what's keeping me off of this low total and the under here. Interesting. No Browns or no team, says Donnie Rightside, and I have the asterisk beside the Bills. Robert Weimer says, still liking the Bills more than the Clowns. Blunt Truth says rain means who has a better run game. Buffalo sounds like the play. Enough flush. Allen says, and your QB is reading commercial scripts instead of the playbook. Oh, God. The movie star athletes drive me crazy. And, Chris Bosch was like that for us in Toronto at Much Music, writing sketches involved in the sketch show. And it would drive me crazy because my friends were writing the show with him. I'm like, why the hell is he not practicing? Why is he up till 2 a.m. writing comedy? Okay, let's move on to Cardinals, Buccaneers. 75 Fahrenheit, sunny, 9 miles per hour. This was a real bankroll burner for me, Donnie. Buccaneers plus 6.5. One of my cashers on the show, but I bet it at 6. I couldn't get it at 6.5. And that push, it really hurt me. The Vinatieri missed field goal, the Buccaneers push. I just feel like everything is getting me right in the prison pocket. Both of these teams have proven they can't stop anyone. Cardinals, Buccaneers. But it seems like Cliff Kingsbury has something brewing here with this Cardinals team. Kyle Murray trending in the right direction. We just saw the Buccaneers unable to stop Russell Wilson. Kyler Murray can do a lot of those things that Russell does. I know that we're talking about Russell Wilson MVP and Kyler Murray a rookie, but bonehead decisions are still being made by Kingsbury. That timeout before halftime was ludicrous. Can Tampa's offense put up those types of numbers that they put up against the Seahawks twice in a row? Can Jameis play well 2 weeks in a row? Is he a guy that we can trust? Godwin and Evans may be the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. Let's take a look at what the market has done with this Cardinals spot here against Tampa. Tampa opens up a -6. There is a 4 at BetOnline. 4.5s everywhere else. This total opened up at 54 and it's gone all the way down to 51.5, Donnie. Very interesting game coming up in Tampa on Sunday, Cardinals, Buccaneers.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this game? Because when you take a look at Tampa Bay, you're right. We're trying to trust Jameis Winston, and even if you got the 6 in that game, you watch the entire game flow of that. It's just a shame that you didn't get 2 possessions in overtime because they probably should have won or covered. And also, let's not forget at the end of the football game, Seattle drives down the field and blows an easy field goal. And when you're sitting with that dog ticket, you know exactly where that heads up, especially when you lose the toss to end into overtime. You knew Seattle was going to go down and score, but the look was right on Tampa Bay. Now we switch completely from saying, hey, can we trust Jameis Winston? Can we trust Tampa Bay from moving from 6.5, last week, plus 6.5 to plus 4.5, almost the exact opposite, opening up around that 6 range, now sitting in that 4.5 range, because the struggle is going to be, can you trust Jameis Winston as a favorite? But sometimes when you try to take a look at exactly who's playing and what teams are, yes, Arizona played Thursday night. They played hard against the 49ers, an upper echelon team. They're going to get a little bit more time to game plan for Tampa Bay. And also, let's not forget about what Tampa Bay takes out of the past couple weeks. Losing at Carolina, losing versus Carolina, losing at Tennessee, and losing with Seattle. And taking a look at not being home for damn near a month, it seems like. Now you're going to get home, get a little bit of a reprieve, and I think they're going to be able to move the football because you're talking about the teams that they lost to. Rams, New Orleans, Carolina, or actually they beat the Rams, but New Orleans, Carolina, Tennessee, and Seattle, upper echelon type teams with a little bit more talent than what Arizona has to offer. The one thing I am leaning towards early in the week is some points, because the one thing that we're showing, Tampa Bay, regardless of where they're playing or who they're playing, they're going to be able to put up numbers. As long as Jameis Winston doesn't throw the red zone, end zone interception, they're moving up and down the field at will. I don't think it's going to stop this week, because the one thing we like about Arizona is regardless if they score or not or push the tempo, they're going to push the tempo regardless of how many points they score. I like the over early in the week, but I got to tell you, I think, Tampa Bay can win this game by a touchdown or more if they just don't have the devastating turnover that Jameis Winston usually is prone to. I mean, heck, even last week, Jimmy, tie game, Jameis Winston just loses the ball out of his hands backwards, and Seattle basically gets a free points the opposite direction. I don't think that's going to take place this week. I think they're going to be able to conquer their demons and put up in the high 20s, maybe low 30s in this game, get the win, cover, and also go over the total.
I hope this goes down to 4, because I think that the market is, or the public or whoever's hammering this line, is overreacting to the Cardinals playing well against the Niners. And the Niners were in a tough spot there, short week on the road, and took their foot off the gas after dominating. Robert Weimer says Winston played well last week, so will suck this week. Maybe the over, need to see more weather. Michael Irvelina, over. Jason Hunter, Cards Bucks, over. And then Robert Weimer says, why the big total move? Why the big total move? What do you think is being seen by these guys hammering this under, opening at 54 all the way down to 51.5, Donnie?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just Arizona and, they're running 100 miles an hour, but not necessarily cashing in at that high of total. Or maybe they're saying, you know what, Tampa Bay's run, now they're going to come home and decompress after that tough loss. I just don't see an under, because I don't see two defenses that are locked down. I mean, hell, look at Tampa Bay's defense, Jimmy. Points, 31st in the NFL. Yards, 23rd. Against the pass, 31st. Now, they are really good against the rush, which is interesting because that's the way that Arizona likes to play. But they do have a decent pass rush to work off of. But then if we just flip over to Arizona's defense, 28th in points, 30th in yards, 29th in pass, 23rd against the rush. Nothing in this game screams under to me. I still would lean on the over here. I think we get some points.
And so does the chat. Torment says, I don't care, but the market moves on totals have been garbage. Lions Oakland total moved to 49 before going up to 51. All right, let's move on to Giants Jets. 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour is the wind in New York on game time on Sunday. Jets open up as 3-point dogs, now 2.5 across the board. This total opened up at 43.5, and we have seen some 43s now on the board. Giants are bad. The Jets are worse. Two sloppy defenses. Jets are dysfunctional. Gase doing another shit job. Sam Darnold looks awful. The Giants were in last night's game until the fourth quarter. Don't get too caught up with that final score. The Jets have no pass rush. Danny Dimes will have time, and him and Ingram are looking good. They're looking good together. Donnie, I like the Giants here, and I like the over here. Giants, Jets, take it away.
I agree with your look here on the Giants, and I think it's that you make a case for the Giants or nobody else in this football game. I was real dismayed last week, and again, I didn't lose any money, didn't have any picks on the Jets, and I'm watching the game as it opens up, and I think the Jets took the 7. Oh, man, this game's going to be a blowout. How the hell didn't I just ride the Jets? Because I said all week long they're going to be able to score at will. The Dolphins have no talent, but there's something to be said about a football team that's not focused and looks like it doesn't even care. And one play microcosm in that football game, Jimmy, that happened was when Sam Darnold was taking the snap from center, or should be taking the snap from center in the shotgun position. The ball went by him, and it's rolling in the end zone. In a football game that you're supposed to go after a win, it's an AFC East opponent. He wanted nothing to do with the football. You know, the Dolphins knock it out of bounds. Thank God it was only a safety at that point. But that showed me right there, like, what this game is actually really about to the Jets right now. Oh, my God, a ball's loose in the end zone. You should be fighting for that for your life, to kick it out of bounds, knock it out of bounds, try to fall in the football. And nobody on the Jets seemingly even cared about that situation. Now coming out today, Le'Veon Bell goes in. The one player that you have that looks like he's giving it his all has an MRI on his knee. So you're telling me you paid him all that money, you're going to rush him out when your season is absolutely done this weekend, and you just signed another running back to the practice squad? I'm going to say Le'Veon Bell is probably trending to not play in this football game. You know what else is happening? Jermaine Johnson just went on IR a few moments ago that the Jets released out here. That signals the white flag is up. The one thing that I laugh about the Giants is the Giants just don't have a lot of talent. You know, Saquon Barkley is awesome. You have a tight end that runs real fast down the field, but you don't really have much behind it on defense. But they're playing hard for their coach. You saw it last night. That's a 1-point game against a top 5 team in the NFL offensively with the Dallas Cowboys, 16-15 entering into the fourth quarter. That game was close. They played hard the entire night in that football game. That's not something you're going to get from the Jets. Now, the only consequence is saying, you know what? Giants stink, and they're actually favored in this football game, -2.5. Before the look-ahead line was a pick-em, which I really hoped would reopen as a pick-em today because I would have been all over the Giants. But I have to say early in the week, the Giants are going to win this football game. It's crazy because I don't have a lot of belief in the Giants other than they're playing hard, and I think Saquon Barkley can take over. But you're stripping down this Jets team piece by piece by piece every week on what they're looking to do. A devastating, the team was fighting after the trade deadline. Now guys are going on IR, and if you take Le'Veon Bell out of this offense where when it all else fails, you dump it off to him out of the backfield, he's not going to be there. I don't see other Jets score. The Jets are 32nd in the NFL already in total offense scoring. They're not going to score that many points. I think the Giants win and probably win comfortably by a touchdown in this game.
I like it. I think I'm going to jump in on this, but so initially I was Giants in the over. Jeff Billings says, Jimmy, the plays take the Giants team total over, and the complete game over, 3-way play for me. Antoine Seymour says, good luck on Giants in the over. And then Tomar comes in and says, I'd lean over, but I think Giants team total is the best value. Then the blunt truth comes in thinking this game is an under 2012. What do you think about the total here? And I am actually thinking of not tripling up, but just doubling up Giants and Giants team total over. Let's just leave the Jets completely out of this equation. What would you do with the total here?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because when I watch the Giants, I do think they're functional on offense because they have a sensational running back that you saw last night. Screen pass can take it 65 yards and then do what the Giants do is don't end up coming up with a touchdown because for some reason their red zone offense is horrendous. They're just not – I don't know if it's the play calling that they're dialing up or not getting room for Saquon Barkley. This is a tough one, me, because you're not going to get much out of the Jets. And I think if you're looking at the Giants, I don't necessarily know, Jimmy, if you come in this game saying, we're going to throw it all over the yard. I think you say we can control the ground game with Saquon Barkley, which means that clock is going to be turning. It's hard for me to jump in on the total, even though it is 42 or actually 43.5 at this point. I actually would trend to an under in this game just because I don't trust either one of these offenses hitting for big plays continuously in this football game.
Maybe I just simplify things. Maybe I got to start cutting down my quantity of plays. The Giants certainly is screaming at me right now. And again, Donnie,
I think the Giants are great. I think the Giants is no doubt the look here, Jimmy, early in the week. Not a question.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to a very interesting couple of divisional games with big spreads. Falcons at Saints is what we will start with. Falcons at Saints. This is an interesting spot. Matt Ryan expected to be back. This total opened at 51. It's still there, but there are 51 and a halves on the board. But notice Pinnacle sticking at 51. New Orleans opening up at minus 12. Now 13s and 13 and a halves. In my first instinct, with both teams coming off a bye, a divisional game, 13 and a half points is too much, maybe. I don't want to back the Falcons, but God, this is a lot of points, and this is appealing to me. Both teams are capable of putting up points. So I like the over, and I like the Falcons. I think a backdoor cover. Now, obviously, you don't want to make a bet saying, oh, don't worry, I'll get a backdoor cover. I mean, that's a loser's mentality. But you'd have to think that the backdoor cover is in the cards, and the points will be coming fast and furious at this point. Donnie, Rightside, Falcons, Saints.
Yeah, we should get Matt Ryan back, so you should get a little bit of a boost on the offensive side of the ball. But even when they had their backup quarterback, Max Schaub, they still were able to move the football. The one thing that now you're going to run into is a little bit tougher defense. You know, it's rare that we talk about New Orleans, who should be able to move the football on offense, but they're actually a top 10 scoring defense, and they do a lot of things that you like. That offensive line that's usually really soft for the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to get a pretty good pass rush here coming out from the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees comes back to move the football efficiently. They should be able to name their number. You know, similarly, we talked about last night, for even though Dallas Cowboys really didn't play a really good football game complete, they end up with 37 points on the board. The only thing that bothers me here, because when we try to look at team totals, and you can make a lot of money with them if the time is right and the price is right, you know, the 23 and a half to avoid 24, the 27 and a half to avoid the 28. I'm looking right now out of New Jersey, Jimmy, early team total, 31 and a half for the Saints. Do I think they can get there? You need a lot of things to go right, though, to be honest. I mean, you're talking about you needing 35 points to cash that. Not like, hey, 3 touchdowns and a field goal, we're good. No, basically 5 touchdowns in this football game in order to cover that. That's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, but I agree with you. I think the 13 points is a little bit too much in a divisional game. I think that back door possibly will be open later in the game. One of these games where I'm looking at early in the week trying to find and say, you know what, because typically Atlanta, New Orleans, what do we do, Jimmy? Just bet the over. Oh, my God, it's going to be a shootout here. But that's not the case anymore with that New Orleans defense. If I had to bet the game, I still would think it would be leaning towards an over. I just wish that Saints team total was a little bit lower than 31 and a half, because I would like to be involved in that one. I do think the Saints are going to name their number, but sometimes when the price has to match up with what you want. You know, 28, hey, great, we all cash. You don't in this football game, and that makes it tough for me early in the week.
Very tough. The big guy, Bubba, great capper. Had the pleasure of partying with him in Miami with you as well,
Yep.
Donnie, which was definitely the highlight of the year, the highlight of my life, basically. At this point. Bubba says, cannot back the Falcons in any situation whatsoever. If the spread is too high for you, tease it down and let it ride with the Saints. Lean Saints, even on the high number. Team total over may be the best look for the Saints, but as Donnie said, that's a very high number. Antoine Seymour liking Saints first half. Tom Marino, the Saints will want to run a lot to keep Breeze healthy, shorten the game. I think the total is tough. I agree with that sentiment. Chris Brady says, I kind of like the Falcons plus all those points, divisional game. And Robert Weimer saying, how can you take the Falcons? Because that's what us Canadians call this Atlanta football team, the Falcons. Now, I've got it beaten out of me by my friends, but Rob Weimer says, how can you take the Falcons? Don't they still have the same coach, like the blowout, but the over is a better look instead? Raphael says, Sean Payton off a bye, be very afraid. Sean Payton is a spectacular coach. There's no doubt about it. Fat Fist says, I love when the back door stays open. Okay, let's move on from that. Ravens at Bengals, same situation here, Donnie. But actually, same situation with the divisional game, and I think maybe too many points. But this feels like a trap spot, a trap game for Baltimore. After that game, okay, well, let's go back to this game, Donnie, for a second. So, Patriots, Ravens. The way I see it, Ravens needed that win to send a message to their players. Harbaugh opens up the playbook, shows everything to Belichick. Belichick shows Harbaugh nothing. Simple game plan. Let's get the loss. Show them nothing because we're going to see them in the playoffs. What do you think of that idea?
No, I heard that, and I mean, it makes, mad scientist fun type of stuff, but you don't just throw away a football game and say we're going to save our vanilla stuff when you could have just buried them on the field that night. I don't agree with that sentiment.
Don't agree with that. Okay. Do you think that after that big win over the Patriots, that this could be a spot where the Bengals cover this huge spread? Ravens could be fat and happy. Do they still come in with that fire that was certainly evident against the Patriots? Hollywood Brown, when he's healthy, he stretches defenses so well. This is a big start for Ryan Finley. This means a lot to the Bengals. Is A.J. Green going to be there for Finley? That's very possible here. What are your expectations of Ryan Finley, and do you think the Bengals can cover? This opened at 10.5. Now it's 10s and 9.5s at Heritage and 5 dimes. This total opened up at 46.5. Now 45.5s across the board, but a 45 at Bet Online. Donnie, Rightside, Ravens, Bengals.
Theoretically, this is a really good letdown spot and a good shot to take an 0-8 football team at home. But you also have to preface this by saying, yeah, we're going to get a rookie quarterback in there. Okay, he's been prepped. He knows he's going to start. It's not like he just came in the second quarter after getting no reps during the practice week. Do we get A.J. Green back in this football game? Because the one thing that's really tough, you just watched last weekend, 37 points. A team coming in, the New England Patriots, that was giving up less than a touchdown a game. They hit 37. So now you say, all right, well, what are the Ravens really like to do well in this football game? Well, they're getting better on defense. We see that. But their offense runs the football. And when you're looking to try to spring an upset, you want to try to stymie what the other team does well. Well, if we take a look at the numbers, Jimmy, Cincinnati in the season, dead last against the run. Oh, yeah, the Baltimore Ravens are number 1 in the NFL running the football. Look at the total yards, 32nd in the NFL. The Ravens should be able to name their number on offense. So I'm looking at like 17.5 team total for the Cincinnati Bengals, 27.5 for the Ravens. Even if this is a really good spot in an upset, do we think that the Cincinnati defense is going to win this game, 21-17? I think the only way that Cincinnati actually has a shot in this football game, if they push the football downfield, if they get A.J. Green back and not say, hey, let's try to play keep away. You're not going to play keep away with the Ravens. They're going to score at will on your defense just because you don't stop anything or do anything well. So even if you say, hey, Lamar Jackson has an off day passing, all right, he throws for 125 yards. That's just normal. They're going to run the ball for 200 plus on the ground in this football game, which is great for late game scenarios because when you're looking to cover a spread, what's nice about handing off the ball to Mark Ingram or Lamar Jackson getting loose for a 30 or 40-yard gain or a touchdown when you need that at the end of the football game? I know it's too high. It's a perfect spot to take it, but let's not forget, this team is 0-8. They stink. And if A.J. Green doesn't come back this week, how are they scoring and how are they stopping the Ravens at this point? Sometimes I look at games, I don't want to confuse myself and just say, you know what, let's overcompensate. Like, oh, great letdown spot. This is the Bengals. They're horrific. Let's remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have an asterisk beside the Bengals. I just feel like in these divisional games that it's too many points. And do the Ravens care about smashing this Bengals team in Cincinnati? Brad Hansen joining us. Great to see you, Brad. Todd Pickham says Bengals backdoored last time. If A.J. Green comes back, then it will be closer this time around. Bengals cover with the Ravens taking a nap in the first half. Tomor leaning towards the under. Tomarino saying Finley looked good in preseason, but Bengals offensive line is trash, and Ravens secondary is healthy with Smith and Peters. What's your expectation of Ryan Finley in this game, Donnie?
I actually think he's going to perform well because I think he's going to have some time. I think they're going to dial him up some stuff that maybe hasn't been in the playbook so far to try to prop him up. We always talk about, Jimmy, like that first 15 to 20 plays that are scripted. I think they'll come out with a charge, but then again, it's still a rookie. Like Andy Dalton's not the worst quarterback in the world with a functional offense. This game, I got to admit, I need to see a little bit from A.J. Green in practice this week because if A.J. Green doesn't play or he's hobbled or we have a couple packages for A.J. Green, which means he's going to play 15 plays, I mean, look, Cincinnati with Andy Dalton, 29th in points, 25th in yards, 32nd against the run. It's 32nd in the run. When you're looking at the Ravens defense, that's second in the NFL against the run. So you're saying, all right, this young quarterback's going to throw us to victory in this ball game? I'm not so sure that can happen.
This is a tough card. Let's move on to Lions, Bears. 37 Fahrenheit in Chicago, cloudy, 15-mile-per-hour winds at game time. Chicago opening up at -3, now 2.5, basically across the board except for Bovada. This total opened up at 44, now down to 42.5 or 42. Bears look defeated. Lost 4 straight. Has to hurt morale watching Trubisky each week. Do the Bears go back to Trubisky again? I don't know. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they keep going back to Trubisky. And then watching guys like Mahomes. I mean, you traded up to draft this guy. Unbelievable. Chicago's defense is good. Mitch can't move the ball. Does that lean towards an under? Is that what the market is seeing when it goes from 44 to 42.5? Matt Patricia continues to make mistakes, but this Lions team is pretty good. And, you know, I'm certainly I just can't back these Bears. Donnie, Rightside, Lions, Bears.
It really is as simple as that, right? Because again, as gamblers, I'm looking at this. I'm trying to be objective. Like this should be an unbelievable spot for the Chicago Bears. Under 3 at home, dome team coming in. If they're playing out in the West Coast, playing hard right up to the gun and taking a loss in that football game, they don't have much of a ground game, so you can pin your ears back and try to get after Matthew Stafford, and you have a good defense that you can lean on. But here's where the problem lies again, because when you watch the game against the Chargers, they dominated the Chargers, and they still lost. They went to Philadelphia, and I'm sitting there watching the game with my dad, and through the first 3 quarters, or at least toward halftime, I'm saying to myself, I don't even have to cheer in this football game for my Eagles to win because Mitchell Trubisky is so horrendous that he can't just make the simple throw. Now, the NFL, there is some ebbs and flows. They got back in the game, but the Eagles end up winning and winning by margin. So the simple factor comes down, again, when you look at the Bears, it's not about running an efficient offense. You know the terrible plays are coming. You know the quarterback can't make enough plays. You know the head coach is pressing at this point and knows his ass is on the line and he might get fired at the end of the season if the offense doesn't ramp up. And the one thing that we can't call, because even, when I'm sitting there going, if you have the Eagles in this game, you actually don't want Chase Daniel to come in the second half. Trubisky came out. If they just had enough pride and said, you know what? The Mitchell Trubisky thing really isn't working out the way we wanted to. We spent a lot of picks on him, but we still want to try to fight and make for a playoff spot. Let me tell you something, Jimmy. If Chase Daniel starts this football game against Detroit, they win and win by margin here, probably by 7 or more, just making efficient 5-yard passes. But if they're going to run Mitchell Trubisky out on this field, even though it's the right move, they're coming home, they should win this game, I'm not going to put my money anywhere near the Chicago Bears as long as Mitch is out there. If they announce Chase Daniel starting, I'm hopping right on the Chicago Bears. It's just as simple as that. I'm not betting Mitchell Trubisky. He can't play quarterback, and how you can bet somebody and put money on him continuously is beyond me at this point.
And then what do you think about this total? Is this another spot? I mean, from a total perspective, is there that much of a difference between Chase and Mitch? And is this a move at 42.5 that we should try to get under right now?
It's funny. I'm actually trying to figure out a way to take the over here, and I keep on getting them. If I just have a quarterback that can just play quarterback, he doesn't even have to be a good quarterback, just an average quarterback. This number would fly over 42.5. You can do whatever you want, Jimmy, to Detroit. You want to run on Detroit, it's cool. You want to pass on Detroit, it's cool. You have weapons on Chicago that if they got down, Allen Robinson or Taylor Gabriel or Tree Cohen out of the backfield, they can do some things. But if you can't complete the 7-yard slant to let your guy run the next 15 yards, what does it matter at this point? This game should fly over 42, but Mitchell Trubisky's out there, stone cold under.
Wow. A very, very interesting breakdown. Lions, Bears. Tormino says Stafford almost always struggles at Soldier Field in bad weather. The weather's not that bad. 37 Fahrenheit, 50-mile-per-hour winds. We've seen quite a lot worse. And then Tormino says Lions have no running game. Alex Ramirez staying away. William Singleton says fire Nagy now. Tormino says Bears are in good shape. They need to be bad this year to draft a quarterback anyways. If they win, I think they win and cover here, though. So Tormino thinking the Bears win and cover here. Truckin' six God says fade the Bears. Robert Weimer says Bears should have lost 34-3 last week. The 14 they got was a gift. Quinn Rivera in the house. Great seeing Q says Bears an auto fade can't score more than 14. Mitch is ruined. But we are in denial about him not being the man. Not being the man. Major Tom says Donnie's 100% correct with the Bears. Chip Plylar in the house as well. Let's move on to Dolphins Colts here. Dolphins Colts, this spot. Miami, Indianapolis opening up at minus 11.5. Now they're at 10.5 or 10. This total opened up at 42.5, and Pinnacle shot it all the way up to 44. Some of the other books hanging 43.5. Miami's starting to play better. And it's clear after that win that they like Flores. The players made that obvious on the field. Brissett, strained MCL. I thought, of course, he's not going to be in the lineup here. But he has a chance to play this week. And I don't understand why they would against the Dolphins. And I'm looking at this double-digit spot. And Donnie, stop me if you need to. But I say take the Dolphins and take them now. I think that double digits is too many points, and the Colts aren't going to open up their playbook like they did against the Texans. I think this will be much more like the way they played against the Broncos. And I think these are too many points. In Miami, I know on paper are trash, but they feel good about themselves for a week. What do you think of covering with the Dolphins here, double digit?
Theory, Jimmy, I think your theory is exactly right on this. But here's the problem when we look at the Miami Dolphins at this point in the season now. You got that big win. You pop bottles. Oh, my God, we're not going to go 0-16. 1-15 is still really embarrassing. But 0-16, you put yourself in the record book. Now you go on the road and you say, all right, well, what are we going to have as a team here? Well, our top leading running back, Mark Walton, he's now suspended 4 weeks. So we're already down the depth chart. We got rid of Drake a couple weeks ago already. Now you look at wide receiver and say, all right, good. What do we got at wide receiver? Your leading wide receiver is now out for the season as well. You're going on the road to play football. Yes, we don't know who's going to be a quarterback. Here's the issue. You have a big, physical, nasty offensive line for Indianapolis. You have one of the game's best play callers that no matter who is it, look, Paris Campbell's not going to probably play in this game with a broken hand. We know T.Y. Hilton's not showing up in this football game. And a quarterback that if he does play, he's going to be on one leg. But I couldn't help but watch last week in that football game where a third-string quarterback that probably took 5% of the snaps during the week was doing a little bit of work against a top-5 defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As crazy as it sounds, I think Indianapolis can line up, Jimmy, and just run the football and name their number against the Miami Dolphins. On paper, this should make sense. You should be able to say, hey, Fitzpatrick, they've been live, they've been game, they've been playing hard. I actually think this is a tough spot now because now you're saying, your top running back who stunk already, he's going to be out. Your top wide receiver who is really average, he's going to be out in this football game. I think Indianapolis can cover this double-digit line with one hand tied behind their back this week, Jimmy. Crazy, isn't it?
Wow. Jeff Billings says Jimmy passed the Colts game. Well, Donnie certainly got me off the fish at this point. Do you agree with this market move creeping up to 44? Because Tom Marino says, I'd lean Miami. Colts off brutal loss. They will run a lot, but he finishes that up. But Colts are likely to run 30 to 40 times. I'd lean under. What do you think about this total that's gone up 1.5 from the opening line?
It should. Indianapolis really play, even if you're, depending on what game you're playing and even looking at, they always play to the under, don't they? Because when you need a total to go over, you need splash plays. You need a play to say, you know what, I can see the Colts hitting a 60-yard touchdown here, which T.Y. Hilton would provide. Or if I'm the Miami Dolphins, if I have a lot of wide receiver weapons or at least a healthy core, hey, you know what, Fitzpatrick should be able to throw the football deep and hit some plays. If we're not getting big splash plays, which it looks like we're not, and if you're leaning towards Indianapolis saying, hey, Jacoby Brissett's going to play. Do we really want him taking 7-step drops and maybe taking a hit in this football game? It's 3-step drops. It's getting the ball out quick. It's running. They're going to win this football game. I don't think they need to throw the entire playbook out and really get after it. I think it plays to an under, but I think Indianapolis is going to be near that team total. It's only a matter of the Miami Dolphins coming into this game, Jimmy, on offense, 30th in points, 30th in yards, 29th in pass, 31st against the run, and they're down their best running back and wide receiver. It's going to be hard for the Dolphins to score in this game, I think.
Yeah, man. I was on the Colts with Tomor last week, and that was a spot. So funny. I was like, I've seen Vinatieri shank so many kicks this year, and I was like, he's going to get right here. This is a spot where he gets right, and that was a Finkel-type shank, and I had to get up and go for a walk. I had to take some deep breaths and go for a walk. It really, it still stings. Let's go to Panthers. Packers open up at -6. We have a 4.5 now at Heritage, 5.5 at Pinnacle, 5 at all the other books. This total opened up at 48. Now 47s and 46.5s. Man, what a wild, horrible weekend for me. One of the things that went my way was I got on the under in the Packers game. Packers Chargers early in the week at 47. Donnie got bet up to 50. And I was sitting there going, God, what kind of asshole are you? You know, that I would jump on this, think I got this look, and it goes up 3 points, and then it easily gets to the under. I was also on the Packers, so it was lost the juice in that game. We have 26 Fahrenheit, Donnie, in Green Bay. So this will be our coldest game of the year thus far. For you Canadians, that's -3.3 Celsius. Mostly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Do the Packers bounce back at home? Because that's my initial feeling. Let's see Carolina play in the cold. Let's see McCaffrey play in the cold. Now, McCaffrey's so good, and the Panthers have some strong defenders. But if you look on paper, the Packers are just a better football team than the Carolina Panthers, and the cold favors Green Bay. Do the Packers bounce back here, Donnie? What's your move, Panthers-Packers?
I think the Packers do bounce back in this football game. Now, I do like what Carolina is going on. And the one thing I actually like even more is the fact that Allen's going to be the quarterback the rest of the way. So even though Cam Newton was rehabbing on the sideline, they recently put him on IR. So at least if you're Allen, you have to look over your shoulder and say, boy, I got to play perfect in this game. Or if we're down 10-0, am I going to the bench? That's not going to take place. So that should help a young quarterback. Christian McCaffrey has been absolute Superman on the season. Now, me, you, and the Whale Capper talked a lot about early in the season because if you look at the overall numbers, Carolina on defense, points now 21st on defense in the NFL, 19th in yards, good against the pass, top 10, but against the rush, 26. They were on an outrageous course over the first 5 to 6 games where they were playing defense at an unbelievable clip. But now we take a look at the last 4 games, Jimmy, against Jacksonville, 149 yards on the ground, 358 in the air. 42 yards on the ground versus Tampa, 365 in the air. San Francisco, 232 on the ground, 156 in the air. And then Tennessee, of all teams, 121 on the ground and 310 in the air. They're going to be susceptible. It's one of those where you look at Green Bay. I don't know what happened. Their bus got to the game late and some guys were out partying. They got embarrassed, which is a good thing when you're coming home. You get that refocused output. I think they can do some things versus the Carolina Panthers to put up some points in this game. I'm looking towards a bounce back effort early in the week from the Green Bay Packers. Kyle Allen going on the road, more of a game manager, and he's been good. He's been winning football games, and that's really the name of the game in the NFL. But I think the Packers come back home in a really good spot in this environment. And again, we're talking about that Carolina Panthers defense that is leaking oil, and I think the opportunity for the Packers to get right this weekend probably starts here.
Yeah, I agree. And I understand that the 6 points is too many, just from a market standpoint. I think that the move down to 4.5 was just probably not the correct line. It probably should have opened up at 5. What is your expectation of this move here, or what's your expectation of this line when we come back on Friday? Do you think it'll be back to 6?
It's if we're looking at 5, let's just say the line is 5 or 5.5 right now. I think it's more likely, Jimmy, that number is going to be 6 than it would, let's just say, 4.5. In Green Bay. It's hard enough to win there. We're not asking to win by more than a touchdown. And I think you saw last week again, because it's what the public, oh man, Green Bay was terrible. And look how well Carolina's playing. And they should go up there and play and they might be able to win. I hear you on that. It's hard to beat Green Bay in Green Bay. And I especially like it even more when Green Bay was embarrassed the week before. I think that line should end up at closer to 6 than it does 5. And we'll see at the end of the week. I'm not ready to actually make a move until I see a little bit more factors in this game. But just man for man in this game, I think Aaron Rodgers can do some really good things here this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jeff Billings making a big boy bet, $500 here on the Panthers. And that alone might be enough for me to stay off. But now I'm looking at this card, Donnie, and I have almost no plays. Let's move on to Rams-Steelers. And I'm okay with that. I have to switch up from what happened last week. Rams opening up at -4, now 3.5. There are still a couple 4s on the board. Pittsburgh Rams total opened up at 45. Now we have 44s, and Pinnacle leading the way towards the under at 43.5 in Pittsburgh on Sunday evening. 47 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Pittsburgh's defense is nasty, and Minka has really solidified it. The Rams are off a bye. I still don't know what we get from Goff and from Gurley. And Gurley's a mystery right now. The question I have is, can the Steelers move the ball against the Rams? Because Ramsey, we know he's just going to follow Juju all over the field. Does that mean maybe a prop bet on Juju receiving yards under? Mason Rudolph is not good enough to succeed against this Rams defense. This Rams defense getting stronger and stronger as the season goes on, especially with the Jalen pickup. Do we make a move on the under here, Donnie? Because I have that with an asterisk beside a giant U. Rams, Steelers. How are you going to play this?
It's funny, Jimmy, because I had Pittsburgh last week, and as soon as T.Y. Hilton went out, I grabbed them at 1.5, and it swung, anywhere between a pick 'em to -1s, the opposite direction, up till game time. And I'm watching this football game, and sometimes you get those beliefs, because I actually believe I shouldn't have won the football game on the Steelers. I'll take the victory, don't get me wrong, but when I'm watching the football game and I see how different teams operate and what they're actually given on you're talking about a third-string quarterback that came in that outside of it was a bad interception. Minka Fitzpatrick takes it back, 97, 98 yards. It was a real game changer. If you take that sort of type of play out here, the Colts were the better team all 4 quarters. And even when it came down to you're throwing pick 6, You're throwing pick sixes. You have a Hall of Fame kicker that if he just makes a kick, you probably win that football game outright. Maybe we're looking at this different. The one thing that's going to hurt the Rams is Cooks. I doubt Cooks is going to play in this game. And when they have that three-man weave at wide receiver, it's pretty impressive when you throw in Gerald Everett at tight end as well. And now you get Gurley coming off a bye. He should be refreshed and ready. We'll see if we get Malcolm Brown in this football game. But I can't get that game out of my mouth because what's going to take place now is you're getting a better defense, a more athletic defense with more playmakers than what the Indianapolis Colts had last week. Aaron Donald is going to be hell on wheels in the middle. I don't even care if James Conner comes back for this game. Mason Rudolph, they don't really allow him to push the football downfield. I think the game plan is going to be right for the Rams to come in here and get a win in Pittsburgh. And I know it opens up at 4, drops to 3.5. Oh, Pittsburgh at home, 3 straight game winners. But when you watch the way the Pittsburgh Steelers operate here, I think the cream of the crop is on the opposite side. I think they're going to get outcoached by Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator and severely outcoached by McVay on the offensive side of the football. I'm not a big proponent in Mike Tomlin. He should have lost the football game for the Steelers last week in the last 2 minutes of the game. Instead of saying, hey, let me hold my timeouts here, he's throwing challenge flag after challenge flag on pass interferences, both defensive and offensive, lost them both. So Vinatieri does make that field goal with just over a minute to go in the fourth quarter. Instead of having 3 timeouts, you have 1 timeout. Those things matter in these type of games. I'm leaning Rams here early in the week. Honest to God, I am.
Yeah, so am I. And what do you feel about this, my look towards the under here? Does that correlate with the Rams? Or are you worried that Rams off a bye will be able to get to the Steelers defense, which I think is very good?
You know what's funny, Jimmy? Like 44, usually you would say in this game, like if Big Ben was playing or maybe the Rams were high octane, if they're going to be down cooked, Pittsburgh has a really good defense, top 5 defense. They can rush the passer. And we know you're going to see 3 or 4 times in this game, Jared Goff running for his life where he takes that stupid sack and fumbles or tries to throw the football away. He's not athletic enough to get in, and their passing game is going to require 7-step drops. They'll get to him. But on the opposite side, look, the Rams defense, since getting Jalen Ramsey, 37-10, 24-10, they're not exactly getting exposed on the back end, and this Pittsburgh offense can't really expose too many people. Aaron Donald on that front line will be able to get through that Steelers front line, and their back end is now fortified. I don't see a ton of splash plays coming in this football game. I like your look at the under early here in the week, Jimmy.
I do too, and I get your Ram spot, and if this was a 3, I would already have bet it. So that, yeah. But it's not 3.5. Or I'd like to get the 3.5 if I made a move on it. But I definitely understand your look here. Clint Richardson says, dangerous game to go under. Tomino says, I don't think Pittsburgh's defense is very good. Linebackers are solid, but back end has holes. I love what I've seen from Minka, and I believe in this defense. I really do. Joe Rich Ramirez says, I'm with Donnie on this one. Deer Slayer Ski just got home from work. We'll watch after. Thank you so much for joining us, Deer Slayer Ski. Great capper and great guy to roll with. Okay, let's move on to Vikings at Cowboys. Is this a Vikings bounce back spot? Are we using that term just, too loosely? But the Packers and Vikings certainly feel like they're in spots where they can bounce back after a loss. Vikings are a balanced team. They're the most balanced team probably in the NFL. And I don't believe in Jason Garrett. I don't believe in Dak Prescott. That was not a dominant performance last night. Cousins is 0-3 in night games this year. I don't know if that should get involved in any of our capping. Vikings, Cowboys, I'd like to take the Vikings here, but sitting at 3 is probably not enough. This is our Sunday nighter. Cowboys open at -3 at -105. They're now -3 at -102. This total opened up at 48 at -107, and the under has taken 6 cents of action here. Vikings, Cowboys, Sunday nighter, Donnie.
You know what? It's a shame because, I'm a big Eagles fan. I want to see Dallas lose as many football games as they possibly can. And, even though the schedule helps them out every single year, it seems like they do get some help as well. Look, if Adam Thielen's already looks like he's ruled out for the week, that is a massive injury for the offense of Minnesota, because what that does is you can't worry about one side with Diggs. You can't worry about one side with Thielen. They'd be able to work it downfield. And then you get Dalvin Cook on turf, which should be able to be a speed burner this weekend. But I got to tell you, Dallas is an offense, and it's not going to be stopped because here's the problem. You're saying, all right, let's look at Minnesota. 4th in points, 7th in yards, 8th in pass, 9th in rush. They're going to put up a fight here. Well, if Dallas's front line is healthy, Dak sits back there and has a tea party, and if Amari Cooper comes in healthy and Gallup comes in healthy and Zeke Elliott comes in healthy, I think this line is cheap for the Dallas Cowboys. I honestly do. It should be a bounce-back spot for Minnesota. I like Mike Zimmer. He's going to have a pretty good game plan. But if you're down Adam Thielen on offense, the Cowboys defense is formidable. I mean, look at what they're talking about on defense, just from their 5th, 6th, 7th, and 11th between points, rushing, passing, and also yards combined. I like Dallas early in the week, Jimmy. I hate it. I hope Dallas gets killed in this football game, but I'm trying to build a case to take those Dallas Cowboys.
And that number 3 is a nice number if you believe in the home team. There is the Sunday nighter, Vikings, Cowboys. Let's move on to the Monday nighter, Seahawks, 49ers, 63 Fahrenheit, clear, 8 miles per hour in San Francisco, which is pretty warm for a Monday night in San Francisco this time of year. Quan Alexander done for the season for the Niners. Russell Wilson, MVP. Seattle's defense is terrible. The Niners are getting back Staley and Juszczyk. They are also a chance at getting back Witherspoon and McGlinchey. Seattle is 7-2 with a point differential of 18. Just 18. I understand why the Niners are taking money. And I'm saying that because I've seen Jimmy Vaccaro tweet out some big bets that were made at his sports book on the Niners. Niners open up at -6.5. They're now -6, although Heritage and UWager are at 6.5. This total opened up at 44.5 and has gone all the way up to 46.5, 47, and I get it. I think there will be offense in this game. And Seattle's defense is so bad. Donnie Rightside, the Monday nighter, Seahawks, 49ers.
Yeah, I'm looking all the way for the 49ers in this football game. And also, I do like the 49ers early in the week, Jimmy, at a team total 26.5. I think it seems cheap. I mean, we're taking a look at games, last 5 game snapshot. 29 points against them, 28 points against them, 30 against them, 20 against them from Atlanta with a backup quarterback. And then last week, Jameis Winston in Tampa Bay, 34 points, went up and down the field. I think you're going to get that same thing. If we're looking from a side perspective, it does look like too many points because, yes, Russell Wilson is out there and he makes magic happen. But when I take a look at this football game, he's going to be running for his life every single snap, and that eventually is going to take a toll. There's not going to be a time in this football game where Russ is going to sit back there and be like, hey, man, 3 or 4 straight plays. I just had so much time in the pocket on a 5-step drop to deliver the football. The secondary is elite. The linebackers, even though they do take a hit with Quan Alexander, still formidable. And that front 4 is going to pressure him the entire football game. So when you flip it to the other side, if we're getting healthier on the offensive line for the 49ers, they're going to name their numbers. I mean, Clowney, Ansa, this defense should be so much better. I can't quite figure it out. But the one thing I do know is they get lit up by formidable offenses. I think San Francisco gets in the high 20s, low 30s. And unless you get a Russell Wilson game, which he does provide many times, where I don't understand, there's 4 guys in his face and he's throwing punts up in the air and they're making every catch. That's the only way the 49ers don't win this football game. I look for the Niners by margin and the Niners to name their number, which means 28 plus points in this football game from the 49ers.
So then the over, if Wilson does enough, will definitely be in play. It opened at Pinnacle on the 3rd of November, 2 days ago, at 44.5. By 5 in the morning on the 4th, by 5 in the morning yesterday, it had moved up to 45.5. And then at 5 in the morning this morning, it moved up to all the way from 45.5 to 47, actually. And the last point and a half at Pinnacle happened 4 hours ago. 4 hours ago. So, wow. Okay, so God, I feel like I just don't want to be on the ass end of that market move, but it makes a ton of sense why it's gone in that direction. Okay, let's go over this card quickly because I see very few plays, and that's okay. But there's one spot I want to go back to. I'm going to take the Giants. For sure. Yeah. I'd like to go back to this total in Giants-Jets quickly. And I guess when I'm talking about it, I'm remembering that the team total over for the Giants was what I felt the safer play than having the Jets involved. Do you agree with that sentiment? Do you think Giants team total over might be a spot on your card?
I'm hesitant on that because usually I would like to pump you up, be like, yeah, Jimmy, it looks like a great play, but I'm really hesitant because I don't know what I get from the Giants in the red zone at this point. If they're moving the football up and down the field, I understand. Like, we had a lot of fun with Danny Dimes, like his first 2 or 3 starts, but he's really calmed down, and I just think this game is like, who's going to flinch and make that mistake worse, and are we really going to open up Sam Darnold? I think we're going to really lock down on both sides here. Unless Sterling Shepard comes back for the Giants, which he entered into concussion protocol again and missed the Dallas football game, I just don't see the big plays out of Saquon Barkley just running wild. I don't know if we can do that. I just don't.
I don't have many looks on this card. Rams Steelers under. Should that be a pull the trigger on that spot?
I like that look early in the week. I do. I think it's going to, let me see. What do we have? Do we have a weather concerns in that game? 50-11. So there's no real weather concerns in that game, but I do think that plays to an under. I like that early in the week as well.
So what are the spots on the card that are jumping out at you? What is like a one spot that you really like, or two spots that are jumping out at you?
I got to tell you, like we just went over the game in the San Francisco 49ers. I haven't spent that much, but the more we talk about it, it screams 31-24. Because what's the one thing we know about Seattle? If you have an offense that can push Seattle, which means they have to go score for score. It almost seems at some points like Russell Wilson doesn't even care if he's playing the 75 Steelers. He still makes plays. But if they have an advantage, 17-3, 17-10, they slow it down. They see what they can do. But I don't think that's going to be the case. He'll be running for his life, but also I think San Francisco is going to play from the front, 31-24 in that game. So I actually really like San Francisco. But even more so, even with that market move where you could have had it at 45, that game should be in the 50s. I can't see that game 17-10, 21-7. There's no way. They're going to be pushing it all downfield for the 49ers. You should be able to score in that football game. Take Seattle's defense even away from Seattle where they get the jump off of the football. I think that game screams over to me early in the week.
Yeah, and there are 46.5s everywhere, but Pinnacle at 47. Yeah. There is your NFL card. There is your NFL card broken down by Donnie, Rightside, and myself, and these great cappers in the chat. Shout out to all you guys. We have no show without you guys. Joe Rich Ramirez, Tom Marino, Tomor, Sean Mick, Eddie Euler, Chris Brady, Robert Weimer, Chuck and 6'6", God, Craig 77, Reese, Antoine Seymour, Trot Wham, Joe Rich Ramirez, Clint Richardson, Jermone Sags, all you guys, Jeff Billings, Ziggy Balls, Todd Pickham, Robert Weimer, the most consistent thing in my life. And I'm very thankful that he's here every time we do the Audible. He's got to be the most valuable commenter. The MVC of this show has been our guy, Robert Weimer. Chris Brady, all you guys, Anna Merrick, we have no show without you guys. Thank you so much for all the energy you put into it. Donnie Rightside, any last words for these great cappers in the chat and those watching at home?
Yeah, thanks, guys, for tuning in, because even though sometimes we stumble around the card and don't hit all the right issues, you see it pop up and it makes us think there. And again, the chat box is the reason why we do the shows. It's a lot of fun, the better the participation. And this is a tough card, which is good. We're going to all let it marinate. Chat box, let it marinate out there. When we reconvene on Friday, we'll know who's playing, who's in, who's out, weather conditions, market moves. We'll be able to spring forward and drill this card down. I love it. Talking about it, setting up the week for Friday. NFL action is what we do here on the Audible. The whale will jump in later in the week. It's all here for you. Information is king right here, Jimmy. We're going to nail it this week. I'm excited. And thank you for the chat box for supporting the show as usual.
Donnie Rightside coming off a 5-0 week. I expect Donnie to catch fire, and he is giving me the inspiration to turn my season around, because it's just falling apart, man. Oh, God. And those 3 weeks in a row, when I was wearing the War Moon jersey, they weren't 5-1 weeks. They were like 4-3, up 0.8 units. And okay, we've got to go. I got Betting with the Bag in 20 minutes. On behalf of Donnie Rightside and myself, thank you guys so much for watching. The Whale Capper will be back in action on Friday. And Donnie off a 5-0 week. That's the best part of this show right now. Antoine Seymour says, great show, guys. Keep up the good work. Jimmy and Donnie, my brother from another mother. Thank you for joining us, Antoine Seymour. All right, big week of football coming up. And not a lot of looks on my card yet. So a lot of work to do. Catch you guys Friday. Thank you so much for watching.